Typical Talk. This is a podcast where we have conversations that illuminate the intersection of faith, culture, and the common spaces of our humanity. I'm Abby.
I'm Allison.
And I'm Joel.
And we are recording this episode on October 31st. But
Spooky.
Yes,
Yeah.
spooky time. But it will be released a couple days into November. So I want to talk about our favorite November holiday.
How do you know which one's my favorite?
Right.
Because there's so many to choose from. Veterans Day.
National Nachos
Day. World Kindness Day. But you're right. It's Turkey Day.
Yeah.
It's Thanksgiving, right? Yeah.
So what are your top 3 favorite Thanksgiving dishes?
Oh, this is going to be hard because I haven't had lunch today.
Because you make poor life choices.
Mistakes were made.
Yes.
Top 3. For me, I'm not a big fan of the traditional turkey.
No.
I just haven't had it to where I love it. I would rather have about any other meat.
Give me all the sides.
I would even do other kind of meats, but no, I'm just not a big fan. I do have a friend, though, that has deep fried a turkey because we live in the Midwest.
Yes. So good.
And as one does. And they actually, it's so unhealthy, and that's probably why it's so delicious. But they inject like melted butter and Frank's hot sauce in there. So it's like a buffalo turkey.
Yes.
It's pretty delectable, pretty awesome. And then maybe it's a hot take here. Not a huge fan favorite for a lot of people, but I love green bean casserole
You
at
really
Thanksgiving.
do. Really
Got
do.
the crispies on top with like the onion strings, and I just really like it a lot. And got the mushroom soup thing going on there. It's the best way to do green beans.
Obviously.
No thanks.
Prove me wrong. And then it's like a newer thing for our family, but it's becoming a staple, and that is like a baked mac and cheese, like with crunchy kind of breadcrumbs on top, and get that corner piece with all the melty cheese, and just thank God that calories don't count on
Holidays,
Thanksgiving.
exactly.
Yes, at all.
Any holiday.
Yeah, it's just how that works.
Yeah.
So for me, like Joel talked about, we live in the Midwest, so it's chicken noodles and mashed potatoes all day, every day. Give me all the carbs. I will take them all. But if you're listening to this and you're not in the Midwest, chicken noodles is not like chicken noodle soup. Like, no. You're going to need to Google.
It's much worse for you than that.
So good. Butter, noodle, Google it. So chicken noodles, mashed potatoes, and then corn casserole. Would round out my top 3.
So nothing green.
No, don't give me anything healthy on Thanksgiving. No, thank you.
Yeah.
What about you, Abby?
So my top 3 favorite would have to be the canned cranberry jelly. It looks disgusting,
It
but
comes out of the can,
so
like looking
good.
like the can,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I don't think
Look at
I've
that.
ever even tried it because I think I'm afraid. So
Sweet
maybe
and
that'll
tart.
have to be something I do
And
this year.
I have it sitting right next to my stuffing, which is definitely my second favorite.
Wet bread,
No.
a big fan of that wet bread stuff, right?
Yeah,
Oh, man.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I love my stuffing a little more crispy. So, like,
Okay.
I get the top of the pan that's
crunchy?
kind of like crusted. And, it's so good. And then my grandma makes this really good sweet corn souffle that would be up there too.
Yes. If Grandma wants to send some home, I will also eat sweet corn souffle with my corn casserole on the side.
Yeah, corn. Love it.
It's got the juice.
I've never seen a more beautiful thing.
It's got the juice. We fell right into it. Thanks, Corn Kid.
For me, it's corn casserole.
So our first topic today, it's a Yahoo News article by Casey Clark titled, "What is Autumn Anxiety?" Learn more about what experts call the anxious cousin of the winter blues. It's common for people to feel down as we get into winter. Some may know this as seasonal depression or winter blues. Other people also get a sense of dread heading into autumn. Julie Lowe, a certified life and success coach and founder of Socially Aligned, uses the term autumn anxiety to describe this feeling. Autumn anxiety typically stems from the stress of busier schedules and having to plan for the upcoming holidays, but can also come about from feeling lonely as you approach the holidays. A few ways to cope with autumn anxiety is to not avoid stress. Lowe suggests working to reframe your thoughts about the particular stressors in your life to decrease the amount of anxiety regarding them. The next suggestion is to realize your stress because you care. And finally, Lowe suggests exercising to reduce stress levels. So I don't know about you guys, but I've struggled with seasonal depression in the past. If you guys have struggled with it as well, what are some things that you found to help you?
Oh man! First of all, I've never even heard the term autumn anxiety until this article. I was like, "Oh, that's
just finding new
right?
things to be stressed,
To
and new
reframe it.
things to be anxious about, right?" Yeah.
But I think you just have, for me anyways, I have to be super intentional about getting together with friends or family. So not just, running into someone and saying, hey, we should figure out a time to get together, because then you literally never will.
Yeah.
So, for me, I have to actually, text or call or see someone and say, like, when are we getting together? Like, when can we get together? And actually putting it on the calendar, because otherwise everybody does get so busy around the holidays. Like, you don't take that time, or you just like retreat back into yourself or stay home, because it gets overwhelming. But I like to have something to look forward to. So I have a couple of friends that we try to schedule a game night like every, 6 weeks or something. So that way it's on the calendar and we know it's coming and we get excited about it. But I also just liked the way that she kind of reframed talking about it, because I have never heard someone say, like, a lot of the reasons why you're stressed are because you care. I just thought, I don't know. Maybe I was just overwhelmed, but looking at it in that way, I'm like, oh, she's right. Like, it is because I care, or, I want something to go well because I care about it. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't think that I've experienced, was it seasonal affectiveness? Disorder, SAD. I don't think I've experienced that personally. So, Abby, I'd like to hear a little bit of, like, how you walk through that and how it affects you.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, as someone who is younger, I don't have to plan for the holidays. My parents and my in-laws do that, and I just show up. Yeah. I'll sometimes make a dish, and that's all I got to do. But like, it really hits me, right after New Year's, because there's no more parties. There's no more, nothing to look forward to. So it's helped me in the past to like really stay connected to my family and friends and stuff, because I don't live near my siblings, and so making it intentional to call them, text them, try to find ways that we can hang out even though we're apart, FaceTime or find a halfway meeting spot and stuff has really helped me in the past.
It was kind of interesting. I remember, like, half joking, but during the height of the pandemic, when many of us were receiving our Biden bucks or our stimulus and all that kind of stuff, I remember thinking that, man, Governor Holcomb in Indiana should really just give everybody 2 free plane tickets to leave Indiana during January and February. Like get someplace warm or tropic just to get away. That would be a great use of it, because Indiana, for me, even though I don't think I've experienced SAD the same way, Indiana for me, like post-Christmas, like the barrenness of January and early February, it's rough, right? Because it's just kind of gray, and if there's not snow, it's bitter, cold, and so I was like, oh man, can we just like reallocate some of those resources, get me on a plane to like Cancun or something like that? Would be really, really awesome. And I really appreciate what she had to say in the article as well, because she said, there are a few ways to cope with autumn anxiety, and it's not about avoiding stress. And I think maybe specifically in religious communities or faith communities, we kind of push down feeling certain things that we know there are Bible verses that we shouldn't feel. And so we don't talk about stress. We push down anxiety. We push down fear. And we might be experiencing it fully, but we feel like we don't have permission to say it out loud inside of our community because we'll be judged. Because don't you know that Jesus said that and
Fear
Paul
not.
said that. And there's fear not for every day of the year, all that kind of thing. And so I really appreciate that. Part of her journey and challenge for us walking through these stressful seasons was not to get around it or to go around it or find some way to numb us down, to medicate us to get around it, but really is to like boldly walk through it and with the help of others, and to use some of these external factors that'll help us do that. And I think in a lot of ways, that's the advice and the challenge and the invitation we get from the scriptures when it comes to stress and anxiety, is not to say, oh, it doesn't exist, but here's a way to tackle it. Here's a way to move forward with it. Peter, writing to a group of early Jesus followers in his New Testament letter, creatively titled 1 Peter. Should have done better than that. But he says, cast all of your cares upon him because he cares for you. What's so like revolutionary and powerful about that command is to, one, recognize that people have cares, they have anxieties, but it's really the shift from trying to carry them ourselves to casting them, throwing them upon Jesus because he's big enough for them. And so much of our anxiety and stress and all the different things that we feel, I think it really stems from us trying to white knuckle, control, carry something that you and I were not created to carry at all. And so I think there's just so much freedom in that, thinking like, okay, for one, recognizing I'm carrying something. Two, that it's not a deficiency on me that I can't carry it on my own, but I'm not created to. And three, there's a God who cares about me, who showed me at the cross, and I can trust him inside of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's beautiful about some of the teachings in the scriptures about stress and anxiety. It's not that, oh, you're bad, you're deficient for feeling it, but when you do, here's what you do with it. Paul, in another place, writing to a church in Philippi, he says this, do not worry about anything, which a lot of times we just read that and stop right there. But what he's going to talk about is redirecting our worry. He says, instead, pray about everything. Instead, bring it to God. Don't just try to carry it on your own. Tell God what you need and thank him for all he's done. There's been so many studies, psychological studies done about the power of gratefulness. When you are feeling bad, stop and like count or focus or meditate on something that you're actually grateful for. It does something inside of us. And then he continues on and says, then you'll experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. And so there's just so much hope in it. And I love that she is speaking in this article about going through it. And I think if you're a person of faith, if you're a follower of Jesus, we can go through it boldly and not feel like we've got to shoulder everything on our own, but we can do it by the help of the Holy Spirit, and we can do it with the help of community by carrying each other's burdens and lightening each other's loads. And that's why we need each other. We were created for it. So autumn anxiety, bring it on. Anyway.
No, thank you. No.
No, I get it, and I just appreciate the conversation. Getting a voice, and instead of us trying to push it down. I mean, there's a lot of people that are feeling these things. Let's use some external tools. If you're a person of faith, I encourage you to lean on who Jesus is in your life and who he is eternally, and we'll get to the other side of it.
So this next topic, I absolutely love this story. It's about a cat that was sworn in as an Italian mayor and is being plagued with rigged election claims from fuming opposition.
This isn't The Onion? This isn't The Onion or the Babylon Bee?
This is a Daily Star article by Ewan Glado.
Oh, fake news. Oh, man. Here we go.
So the cat's name is Miao. I love that.
Not spelled M-E-O-W.
It's Italian.
No, it's the Italian
You have to say it with your pinky up.
Meow with a pinky up.
So Miao is a cat who is recently sworn in as mayor of a city in southern Italy. Some have claimed, though, that the cat participated in a form of election rigging. Deputy Mayor Matteo Dio Fabio was the one to swear Miao into office. But claims of nepotism and election fraud have plagued the controversial cat, as it was revealed the feline is the pet cat of Dio Fabio's daughter.
I know. Audible gasp.
Miao takes the reins of public office in what marks the fourth feline member of government for the Italian region. So I thought this story was hilarious, just that people are upset about this
What?
becoming mayor. But would you live in a town with an animal as mayor?
If it was a golden doodle, yes.
I just have so many questions. Like, can I meet the cat's owner first? Like, I need to know more. Like, how is this actually going to work? Who's making real decisions here?
Yeah.
Do they have those things I've seen on TikTok where like the dogs step on the button and
They
it says
press
like
the button.
outside snacks? Like, is the cat stepping on buttons that say like
Raise taxes.
Yeah. Like, I don't understand how this works.
Ooh, new park.
Well, I don't know.
I think it said in the article that there's like an assistant mayor that's a human. So
Well,
so it's really just a figurehead, and there's actually someone behind the scenes pulling the strings of the yarn for this cat.
because I mean,
see.
you can't be mad at a cat for bad decisions.
It sounds like these people are, but
Yeah.
I don't know. And also, like, why didn't the deputy mayor just run? Mm-hmm. If it's his daughter's cat that ran, I don't understand.
Yeah, there's just
I have so many
much
questions.
political drama in this, and just another example of our failing public institutions and the lack of trust that we have in our elected officials.
Honestly,
That's all I have to say. And I would never vote for a cat. I don't trust them. They would eat me if I would die.
oh yeah, they do not care about you at all.
And I'm just there to feed them.
But-
and I'm not a fan of that, because ask not what your cat can do for you.
Oh no!
I'm sorry. I'm going to stop that right there.
As you should.
But one thing that stuck out to me about this story is, so we'll ask a question here in a bit about your favorite attractions that you've come across. But when I want to say like between 8 and 10 probably, my family was on a road trip and we stopped at this small town in Kentucky. It's called Rabbit Hash, Kentucky. Really small town. Not very many people live there.
I'm like, why were you there?
I don't even remember.
In Rabbit Hash.
Like I think we were just like driving through, going to like the campground we were staying at or something.
Okay.
And they had like a little general store, and it looked like it was out of, decades ago. It did not look like it was, a modern day town. But they had a mayor that was a dog. And that's like the only thing I remember distinctly is the fact that I got to meet this mayor dog. And I was so excited about this because I was like, why can't every town have a dog
mayor
as a
dog?
mayor?
Did you have to set up an appointment?
No.
Like, how did you
was
meet
just-
Mayor Dog?
He was just walking around town, and one of the
Overseeing his people.
Yeah,
his
I mean,
citizens.
it was a small town, so they knew when people came in that weren't from the town. So they were like, hey, kids, come over here. I want you to meet the mayor.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to Google Rabbit Hash,
Yeah.
Kentucky.
So I pulled it up. They've actually had a dog as mayor since 1998. So the first one was named Goofy Bornman. He served from 1998 to 2001.
Well, that's
The next
a
one
good
was
term. Yeah.
Junior Cochran. Next was Lucy Liu. Next was Bryneth Paltrow. And then the most recent one is a French bulldog named Wilbur Beast.
That's a good name, at least.
I
Yeah.
simply
That looks good
cannot.
on a political yard sign.
Yeah.
I simply cannot. Are they all the same kind of dog? Like
Oh,
breed
no.
of dog?
No, I think
No.
I'm trying to remember the one that was like
You act like you know.
No way.
You've been to Rabbit Hash?
What? No.
You've met the mayor?
I know the people of Rabbit Hash.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
No.
The one that was mayor when we were there, I want to say was like a golden retriever.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
Happy times,
This
happy
is
times.
definitely my kind of place, though.
Yeah, yeah.
I like weird.
So what are some weird and interesting tourist attractions you've come across? I know Allison looks
I'm at a
for
loss.
I
these.
thrive for this.
I try not
I've
to
been
see
waiting.
these things. I try to go like, oh, they're going to charge me for this. I'm not doing this, or I don't need a picture.
Some are so free.
I am the last person that wants to get my picture next to a big rocking chair, or
We're not the same.
I just don't get it. I don't get it.
No, so my mom's family, actually, her sister, like, they love finding these weird, like, world's largest whatever or world's smallest whatever. Like, they will intentionally map their, destination to see if there's any of these kinds of things that they can see while they're on their way. But, so it's kind of in my DNA, I think, a little bit.
That's
but
how that works. Yeah.
It is. But most recently, my husband and I were in Michigan on the East Coast, and there is a place called Dinosaur Gardens. And I don't really love dinosaurs. I don't, it doesn't really matter. But when I saw pictures of this place, I had to go. It's so weird, but also I loved everything about it.
Yeah.
Just I can't even explain it. We'll have to, post a picture or something. But there are large dinosaur statues like all throughout this, and you just kind of walk among them. And there's facts and stuff like that connected to it. But it was just so bizarre.
So they're just statues of dinosaurs.
Yeah.
No bones.
No.
No archaeology. Okay.
No. And you will
clarifying.
pass it. Like, you will just be driving by and miss it because there's not like big signage or anything like that.
Yeah.
But then I think it was like 2 years ago, we were in Kentucky, and I made my family stop at the Bernheim Forest because they have these giants that are in there. They're wooden. I don't even know how big they are, but they are amazing. Again, they look kind of like trolls. I was obsessed. It was everything I ever wanted. Bernheim Forest. Google it, people. It's amazing.
We'll have to find pictures of both of these.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, to verify, to
Oh,
fact check.
to verify.
I'll send you selfies with these things. They're amazing.
Have to put them in the show notes.
Yep.
For me, if I mean, the tourist attraction, as far as I get, is like if the state has an In-N-Out burger, I have to travel to that,
man.
or I have to try something there. But I just don't think along these lines at all. I mean, my wife and I were in Los Angeles this fall for like 2 days, and we had some time during the day, and so we're like, oh, let's go look at the Walk of Fame, and then like to look at the stars on the sidewalks and stuff. We did that, and my wife saw Kelsey Grammer, and she's a big Frasier fan, so that was pretty exciting for her. And I'm like, is this all that this is? And so I just
You
don't
didn't find
really
any
get
celebrity houses or anything like that?
Oh, we
while
saw
you were...
celebrity houses. I just don't care. I'm glad they have shelter, and I guess I'm glad. Like, I just don't really get it. I'm like, oh my gosh, look, it's J-Lo's house. Wasn't me. It just wasn't me.
Yeah. No,
But
I've
I
made
don't
2
have that.
TikToks of all the weird things that we've gone to see, like on trips. I love it. I mean, if you're listening and you love it, tell us where else to go, because I'm here for it.
Yeah. Let's hear about all of those. Our final topic today is a Relevant magazine article by Emily Brown titled The Next Era of Pro-Life, How Adoption is Changing and How Christians Can Help. The solution that many pro-life individuals provide to people considering having an abortion is to put their baby up for adoption. 33% of Americans consider adoption, but only 2% follow through. It's too early to determine how the overturn of Roe will ultimately play out, but experts predict the number of women giving their children up for adoption will increase each year. Their best guess, 10,000 additional newborns are expected to enter the adoption process annually. Sherry Williams, the Senior Vice President of Domestic Programs for Bethany Christian Services, says that the goal in foster care and adoption is to strengthen and keep families together. This is the next step for the fight for life for the church. Now more than ever, Christians have the opportunity and responsibility to step in and provide support to those who need it the most. Physically, financially, emotionally, and yes, even spiritually. So how do you feel when you hear someone suggesting adoption as an alternative to abortions?
I think that it's easier said than done. I think adoption is... Now, all that being said, let me take a step back and say adoption is beautiful. It is powerful. It is this, vivid thing that we see in the scriptures. Not only what Paul describes in Ephesians chapter 1, verse 5 is, God deciding in advance to adopt us to his family, bringing us to himself through Jesus. Not only that, but looking at Moses and Pharaoh's daughter rescuing Moses while he was in the river, and then to Jesus' own story where people don't think about this often, but Joseph adopted the baby Jesus. He had nothing to do with Jesus getting here. So it's such a beautiful picture, and I know people in our church that have adopted children, and know so many people in my life that have taken that path to do that. And of course, these children and their extended trauma and them being in the system was cut down significantly because of their compassion to adopt. So celebrate it, and the church can do a lot better job in promoting it and helping make things happen. But there are still a lot of things that make it really challenging to happen in America, and a lot of red tape and the process. I mean, the average domestic adoption in America costs between $25,000 and $45,000 from its beginning to coming through in fruition. So that's something that a lot of people are not willing to pay to make it happen. And I think that statistic from the article that a third of people say they're interested in it, only 2% actually follow through, is something I definitely would see, because the amount of people that say, oh, I'd like to someday, and then they get into it and get paralyzed through the process or don't want to make the financials work. It's just a challenge inside of that. So Yeah, I think that adoption is something that it's a button that the church should push more and needs to in a post-Roe world, but it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all for every child and every woman who is pregnant. So yes, we should find ways to cut down the red tape. Man, I'd be really interested in some legislation about making this a more streamlined process and making the price point lower for people. But it's going to take a lot more than just some people stepping up to adopt, to stem the amount of new children that are coming that might just be thrown right into the system if nothing stops it. So yes, it's something that I'm all for, and the church needs to be more involved in, but it's not going to fix everything. Yeah. I think that this is really a chance and a time where people of faith that have voted and have strong feelings about the morality of abortion, this is a time when the church has to actually stand up and be good to what they say they believe, because now we are in a post-Roe world, and there's going to be a great need to actually care for these children, not just to be pro-birth, but to be pro-life. And I am painted a little cynical towards if the church is up for the task of actually filling that gap the way that we're currently situated. And I think it's going to take changes inside of our social systems, inside of the way that we do, childcare, daycare, preschool, and the kind of financial support that we help women receive and help them to go through the journey of being a parent. It's going to take a lot more than just saying, "Hey, we need to adopt some more kids." It's something that we've got to do, and we've got to grow in, and we've got to ask people to open up their homes and their arms and their lives to more children. But not everyone is going to make that financial decision and to walk through that process, sadly.
Yeah. When I hear someone kind of suggest adoption as an alternative to abortion, like, it's tense. Like, there's a lot of tension in it as far as, like, if adoption is the antidote for abortion, that means thousands of children will need safe homes to care for them, and there are already thousands of children in foster care waiting for those same homes. So I just don't know if it's an actual, like, feasible, legitimate option to say this is an alternative to that, because we're already in a crisis, I would say, as far as the foster care system goes. But and adoption isn't easy. Like, I also think that people kind of just, I don't want to say throw it out there as like, oh, it's so easy, just do that instead. But, it comes with a lot of trauma, for children, even as infants, maybe, not as infants, but as they get older, and there's, abandonment or all sorts of issues that they have to walk through as they try to figure out who they are as adults. And there's just kind of a grieving process, I think, in some sense, in some situations.
And what's the better option then?
Right. That's what I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I mean, I'd rather them walk through some of those issues with a loving adult.
With a loving adult. Yeah. Yes. And that's where I think the breakdown though becomes, like, if there are already thousands of children in the foster care system and there's going to be more, like, more people are going to have to step up. Like, that's the only option. Like, otherwise, children are just in the system until they age out, and then what, Yeah. But I also think, like, what if we come alongside these moms who are considering either option and, somehow are able to financially support them or encourage them or, emotionally support them and just walk through life with them, because I think that meeting the needs of people is what we should be about in every situation, not just these particular situations. But I think that's often where we, fail or come up short.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. A statistic that I read, this was, pre-Roe v. Wade being overturned, but was if every church in the United States of America had one family that adopted one child, then there would be not one child in the foster care system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Which is like you think about how many churches there are, right? And
Yeah.
I know in our church, it's just a smaller church anyway, but there are multiple families that are in that process or have adopted. But and it's just, again, just this important call that we've got to be about the least, the last, the most vulnerable. And who is more vulnerable than a child or a woman who is facing just a financial cliff to make these kind of impossible decisions. And so, I think that the church now, we've got to prove to the world that a world post-abortion on demand is a better world. And we have a lot of work to do to fill in those gaps and to put our money where our mouth is, and maybe not get the new car with the big car payment when we think that if we really care about children, all those different kind of things where the rubber meets the road, right? And I just pray that we're up to the task. I pray that we make decisions and create avenues where people can hear these needs and respond to them, because there's going to be a lot more need. I mean, I know we're too early. I met with somebody who works in a pregnancy resource center in Kokomo a couple weeks after Roe, and I'm like, have you guys had any change, or what's the need? Is it? And nothing's really drastically changed yet. And Indiana then passed some pretty strict restrictions in our state, but we know that there's going to be more need, and man, we need to be up for the task and not just saying, well, it's easy, just adopt, or just put the sign in your yard. I mean, man, let's go beyond that. Let's get, some dirt under our fingernails and meet people, love people, serve people right where they are, and let them know that there is a better future possible than what they can currently see.
Yeah.
The last, just in the article, it said the underlying goal of the church moving forward should be supporting those who feel like they are out of hope. I'm like,
that's what I just said,
yes,
kind of.
in every,
that's better than what I just said. But yeah.
And that's, for me, that's in every situation, adoption, abortion, whatever your situation is, like that, that should be the goal.
Yeah.
And
not just during pregnancy. Like
No.
after the baby's born,
for sure.
continue to
Or
help
families
those
who are
families.
thinking about adoption. Like there's just so many ways that we should be walking alongside people.
Yeah.
And so I talked a little bit out of my bad eye, my pessimism towards how the church is ready. But I will say, this is an incredible opportunity for people of faith to not just be voting down a party line or voting about an issue, but actually saying, now we're going to get to work and make this better world and be, dealers of hope and love and compassion and believing that God's not done even in these seemingly dead-end situations. And so we have a great opportunity to show people that we're not just about life after death, but we're about life here and now, and a life of flourishing that God has for us. And so we have an opportunity. Yeah. It's going to take more than a lot of talk.
It really is.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to talk about, you can email those to atypicaltalkpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at atypicaltalkpod for any updates about the show. You can subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We hope that these conversations today have helped you think wider, love deeper, and partner with God to bring the up there down here in your everyday life. Thanks for listening.